To kick us off in the final season, we are going to be looking at all of the transfer activity that has happened across season number 5. We're going to kick off, as always, with the players that have left the club. Well, in this case, just the player that has left the club. And we're then going to look at the new faces as we look to continue to build this youth movement. So, starting us off, we have lost Lazaro. We let him go. Basically, he wasn't getting in the team. As I said in the previous episode, he's one of my favourite players, but I couldn't get him into the team. He just doesn't have that final bit of quality that we needed. Atletico Mineiro come in. He wanted to go back to Brazil. It made sense for everybody. They paid £2 million for him. We were happy to take it, and it meant that he was the only player that left in Season 5. But we had a transfer kitty of £21 million coming into this season. We added that £2 million to it, and we started to spend wisely. The first player that we signed came from Sporting. He is Lucas Taibo. He's a central defender, so he gives us that extra little bit of depth and rotation in defence. 22 years old now, valued at 3.4 to 4.8 million pounds. We paid 3 million pounds for him. He could be an absolute steal. He's 6'4", his jumping reach is 16, natural fitness of 14, pace of 13, heading of 12, marking of 13 and tackling of 14. I think he could develop as the game goes along, and he could be a fantastic central defender. The next player to come in was Pau Prim. Now this is the type of player that I really had in mind when I was looking at a youth Spanish save. So he's now 22 years old, so he was 21 when we signed him. We paid £15 million in total, 10 up front, 5 later, and he's one of those elite looking wonder kids that still has plenty of development, and it now means that we have a Barcelona trio in the middle of our pitch with Garrido, Casado and Prim, and I think we're set up in terms of players that can really be creative and defensively sound as we look to push on in Season 5. The next player to come in was Victor Moreno, another player who can play wide left, can play wide right and can also play through the centre. He has a game that is built around his pace and his acceleration, his dribbling, first touch and his finishing. I think his technique is also fantastic at 15. He's a player that can cause havoc when he plays on either wing. Will be a rotation option and only cost around £3 million, so a bit of a bargain there also. And the final player that come in is Kobal So. He's 21 years old. He is another player that can play wide right or wide left, can play in the centre. So we're looking at versatility now in Season 5. Plus the players, as I said, the pool of those well-known youngsters who were 16 or 17 when the game first started is getting smaller and smaller, and we're having to buy the ones that are there. And at the age of 21, he still looks fantastic, and there is room for development. And we only paid £4 million for him, so it could turn into a bit of a bargain. So that's all of the transfer business done. Player that left the club was Lazaro, and then the signings that we brought in. But as always, the question is, was the money well spent? How have we got on in the competitions? As you can see, the answer to that question is a resounding yes, the money was well spent, and the team has finally come together to unleash the potential that we have been building. We have won La Liga, and we have done it in style, getting 101 points, beating Real Madrid to the title by 5 points. Now, when you look at their two totals, Real Madrid and Barcelona, 96 and 94, we were really pushed to our limits to get over the line and get it done. We took a massive leap also in our goal difference, 65 this season. It was 27, I think, in the previous season. So absolutely fantastic to get that one over the line, and that is trophy number 2 on the board. In terms of the Champions League, we got knocked out in the league phase, which was quite disappointing, but when you consider that we had moved through from Conference League, Europa League, first crack at the Champions League where we actually qualified, to go out at the league stage, it's not too bad when we sacrificed it almost for the league. I'll kind of spin it that way, even though we didn't play the best. We only won 2 games, and that was against Rennes and Shakhtar. We drew once, which was against Inter, but we did lose to Feyenoord, Liverpool, Union Berlin, Ajax and Monaco. We'd finished on 7 points, which was just 1 behind Fenerbahce, and it meant that we got knocked out in the league phase. In the Copa del Rey, Fourth round is our friend. Once again, knocked out against Real Betis in the fourth round. So in terms of La Liga, let's have a little look at that and show you what happened. So we would win 33 of 38 games. We would draw twice against Barcelona. We would lose 3 times against Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid and Seville. But we would have a 65 goal difference and 101 points. When you look at some of the stats, Iker Villar would get 26 league goals, but look at Victor Osimhen there, 45 league goals in a single season for Victor Osimhen, now playing for Real Madrid. Absolutely insane number. Clean sheets, Danny Martin would keep 16 of those. If we look at the squad and see how the rest of the goals and assists were dished around, so Villar would play 47 games, scoring 31 goals and 8 assists. Then Ramazani would get 23 goals this season, 14 assists. Akamatch 13 and 11. Prim 8 goals and 10 assists. Further down you have Sotelo, once again double numbers on his assists, 11 for him. So the competitions have actually forced my hand here. Because we have won La Liga, I don't want to leave it there. We're going to go into a 6th season. I'm going to have a go at retaining La Liga. And also, I want us to try and push on in the Champions League. It means that we are probably going to be signing new gens, but with the money that comes from La Liga and the money that should come from qualifying for the Champions League, it means we could have a really good transfer kitty to have a go at defending our title. Speaking of finances, let's have a look at those as we are going to head into a 6th season. So the board have £52.1 million in the bank. We have a transfer budget of £25 million. The wage budget is up to £913,000 and we're spending £869,000. In the club vision tab, the board vision... Firstly, our job security is only secure despite winning La Liga for the first time. They want us to work within the wage budget, be competitive in the Champions League and qualify for the Champions League again. So the board have finally caught up in terms of their ambitions. They now know that we are a team that is capable of qualifying for the Champions League. Looking at the board feedback, we only get a B+ for winning La Liga, but they want to make most set pieces, play entertaining football, play high tempo pressing football, play attacking football, and they're pleased with the 3-1 victory against Mallorca, pleased with the level of support in the squad, pleased with the 3-1 victory against Valencia. For the first time, there are no criticisms from the board. From the supporters, we also get a B+, and again they want us to play attacking football, play entertaining football, play high tempo pressing football, make the most of set pieces, and in the highlights it's the 3-1 victory against Mallorca, 3-1 victory against Valencia and a 2-0 victory against Las Palmas. In terms of the supporters, the only disappointments are Victor Moreno's performances and Gaciarowski's recent performances. And once again, Gaciarowski seems to not be able to please the fans. But another fantastic season with a B+ this time, going into season number 6. I think the board... I don't know what we've got to do to get even better, but I think if we could retain La Liga and go further in the Champions League, then maybe we could go out as an untouchable manager here at Almeria. To round out the season, as always, we are going to look at the squad, and we're going to do that in the 2 ways as usual. Firstly, I'm going to go through what I feel is my best 11. We'll then look at the assistant manager's report to see where the gaps are and see how he feels the best 11 lines up, and we can try and build some transfer targets based around those opinions. So to kick me off, I would go with Martin in goal, Gaciarowski, Keiki, Taibo and Grand. Then we'd have Prim, Sotelo and Casado in the middle of the park, Ramazani, Akamatch and Villar at the top. So the top 3 still are going to be the top 3. In terms of the attacking positions, we cannot improve, I don't think, in any of those positions. Villar is scoring goals for fun. Ramazani and Akamatch are chipping in with assists and goals. No need to change anything there. The middle of the park now is really settled with Prim, Casado and Sotelo. Going to be hard to top any of those positions. And then Gaciarowski is still a public enemy of the fans, but I still retain some trust in him. Not too sure how much more progression will come out of him, but I still think he's my best left back. Then we've got Keiki, Taibo and Grand and Martin in goal. If we look at the squad planner and how our assistant sees it, he would go with Martin, Centelles still, Edgar, Keiki and Francis, Avila, Pau Prim and Casado, Ramazani, Akamatch and Villa. So again, he thinks that the front three are untouchable. Casado, Prim and Avila for him in the middle. And then we have got Centelles. I personally would pick Gassiorowski over him, but he now thinks that he's a centre-back, which is strange. Keiki and John Martin, and then Francis and Danny Martin at the back. So not too many gaps, and we seem to think along the same lines for most players. Looking at the weaknesses then, it's still the same old things. Overall depth, one-on-ones, communication, penalties, crossing. Again, I'm going to put most of that down to the team being young, and they are now starting to develop within themselves, because the one that is missing is the overall squad quality. So as the star ratings go up, as they improve and they play together, that has obviously disappeared, and I was right to put it down to that earlier on in the save. Looking at the strengths though, Villa's 26 strikes was second in the league. Youth prospects, look at all of those names that are either in our youth teams or in the first team. We have a few out on loan also. Best overall form is Ika Otadui. He's a player that we actually bought in. Didn't think he was going to be a great player, but loaned him out, which is why he has that 7.42 average rating. Francis is good with the defensive depth. Pau Prim is one of good 8 options now in defensive midfield. And then there's Keiki and Pau Prim. So all in all, the signings that we're making now are the most important ones, because they're the better signings now we've got the budget to do so. And what is good is that the team that was there already is kind of wrapping themselves around them, and we are now starting to produce the football that we obviously were capable of all along. So that means looking at the competitions, forcing us into a 6th season by winning La Liga. Champions League could do with improving. Copa del Rey, apart from our one win, 4th round every single season is us. But it's been a brilliant season, and we're going to have one final shot at it. We're going to go into a 6th season, and we're going to try and defend La Liga, do better in the Champions League, and maybe get to the 5th round in the Copa del Rey. Right then, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate it. I cannot thank you all enough for the support you've given the channel across the past couple of months. It's been fantastic to see the channel just go from strength to strength, and it continues to improve. I really cannot thank you enough. Before you go, don't forget there are other things on the channel, such as hints, tips, tutorials, Wonder Kids, Let's Plays. Try to have a little bit of something for everybody on the channel. But for this one, I'm going to leave it there. Hope to see you for the final season of the Almeria Save very soon.